Boston Bruins lose to the Florida Panthers last night, 4-3 in overtime in Game 7 in Boston. Carter Verhaeghe with the game winner in the extra session. I don't think it's an overstatement to say this is one of the biggest upsets in not just playoff history and NHL history and league history. The Bruins were an absolute juggernaut during the regular season. If you don't follow hockey at all, let me try and put this in perspective. This was the most successful regular season ever. The Bruins set league records for wins, 65. They won 65 out of 82 games. They set an NHL record for points, 135 in a single season. The Bruins did not lose 3 straight games all season long. Imagine if you're an NBA team also plays 82 games and you don't lose 3 straight all year. They finally lost 3 straight. It happens in this one. The President's Trophy curse continues. We see this all the time in the NHL. I was talking about the Caps. Oh, I can't tell you how many times during their peak they would have the best record in the regular season. They would win the President's Trophy, and then, poof, they disappear. They get eliminated. Since 1985, which is when this trophy was first awarded, only 11 regular season champs have made the Stanley Cup final, with 8 of them winning. And no President's Trophy winner, none, have advanced to the Cup final since the 2013-2014 season. Chelsa, this is an upset of monumental proportions.
Didn't we talk about this before the Stanley Cup playoffs unfolded? We said to ourselves, we've seen huge upsets in the first round so many times when it comes to hockey. I don't know what it is about, the type of sport that it is. Maybe it's, puck luck, whatever. But this is something moving forward from a gambling perspective is maybe you don't just blindly bet on the favorite. And I was thinking to myself, I bet the Boston sports media is going to handle this with nuance, with class, and they're not going to overact at all, right? Well, the first headline I saw was, disastrous end to Bruins season will haunt the franchise forever. Forever? 100 years from now? It's going to be haunting the Bruins franchise? But this is exactly what you would expect after that end to a season. I don't know how long it's going to take these fans to recover. It feels like a long time.
Well, as you're saying this, I get my morning email from The Athletic, and the first thing, the subject line says, was this the biggest collapse ever? Not just in the NHL, biggest collapse as the first thing, like right out of the box. And this had to be brutal for longtime Bruins fans because David Krejci, Patrice Bergeron, longtime Bruins, heart and soul as franchise. They are now both unrestricted free agents. So this is the end of an era for Boston.
I know the headline for me is Will Levis going to my Tennessee Titans. And listen, I did not want the Titans to draft him in the first round. I don't think he was really worthy of that. Maybe I'll eat my words, but right now that's how I feel. But here's the other thing for me. I think the Titans definitely needed a better backup quarterback than what they have in Malik Willis. We've seen the Malik Willis show. It's not a good one. Yes, he can run, but the dude can't complete a pass. And he clearly does not have a grasp on the offenses at an NFL level. This is a guy that didn't even watch film in college. So I think that, if we see Ryan Tannehill get hurt, because this can happen, he's getting older, we need a viable second option. And maybe Will Levis is better than that. And the bar is set very low. So for that reason, I do like the pick. I do like him going in the second round because, like I said, the Titans are going to need somebody else other than Ryan Tannehill. And that's, me being a Ryan Tannehill stan. I do think that he is the entrance starter for a reason. But if for some reason he goes down, I think Will Levis is a much better option than Malik Willis.
I got to give it to the Panthers. I want to give it to the Leafs. It's been incredible. And that was a great call, by the way. I'm not a big fan of sort of cliche sort of calls when you plan it for days. He had that one in the bag. But that was a good one, man. I love that. Lightning in a bottle. Great call. Great call. I got to say, and we talked about it last segment, but it's the historical nature of just the Bruins going down. The Maple Leafs are a better story, right? Because of their history, because it's been so long. You could hear the emotion sort of pouring out in the game-winning call. But I just can't state strongly enough what a massive upset it is that the Boston Bruins, who won just game after, they were just unstoppable. They didn't have any weaknesses. For them to go down to the Florida Panthers Put the President's Trophy curse aside. Like I said, I got this email from The Athletic that says biggest upset ever, biggest collapse ever. No one expected this, curse or no. I got to give it to the Panthers. And by the way, they did it in Boston in overtime on the road. Full credit to Florida. I'm going to go with the Panthers.
I think it feels odd to me to give the MVP to like a team. I feel like it almost needs to go to an individual. So I'm going to lean that way. I'm going to go with the best individual over the weekend, and that has to be Steph Curry in Game 7 with his season on the line. This man answered the call and called game. Steph Curry, 50 points against the Sacramento Kings on the road in a historic performance for the ages. Not even for this weekend. This has to go down as one of the best Game 7 performances of all time in the NBA postseason when you're not talking about the NBA Finals. So I'm going to go give it to Steph because he didn't even have his Robin in this one. Klay Thompson, 1 of 10 from the field in the first half. So it had to be Steph and Steph alone who was carrying his team to the next round of the postseason. I know the Warriors were favored, but still, that man was something else. He was making threes. He was doing finger rolls. He was doing every single thing he could to get open, even for a split second, to fire away an effortless three. So I'm going to give it to Steph Curry, MVP of the weekend for me.
Everyone talks about Bijan Robinson, my favorite play in the draft. Let's talk about Roschon Johnson, who went to the Bears. Let me tell you something, and I know everyone's going to accuse me of being biased here, but in that locker room for the past 2 seasons at Texas, this is a flat-out fact. The leader of that locker room was not Bijan. There it is, Double D. It's Roschon Johnson. You have to understand, this is a guy recruited out of high school. That's it. Turn it up, Double D. Turn it up. You're watching Bears football now. This is a guy recruited as a quarterback out of high school. And, you know, it's a bit of a misnomer. Texas has recruited very well, as it always does, because it's Texas, right? Whatever. But they have had so much attrition over the years that those recruiting classes they have brought in haven't really panned out because so many guys have left, been injured, whatever. Roschon Johnson made the transition to running back because the coaches said, we've got to have depth at running back. We don't have anyone who can play running back. Will you? And you know how difficult it is. You know how high school kids are. Once you're a quarterback, you don't want to play any other position but quarterback. You're quarterback. You want the ball in your hands. He said, I'll play running back, and became a leader of the team. Everyone focuses on Bijan, but Roschon Johnson is an absolute monster. Great blocker, runs forcefully with a purpose every single time, and the undisputed leader in that locker room. The Bears stole him. I thought that was a great draft pick. And also, I just want to say, the Eagles getting DeAndre Swift, I think, is a stroke of genius. I don't think they gave up much to get him. And now, in that backfield, like they've got Jalen Hurts, and they've got Rashad Penny, who I think could explode this season, and they get DeAndre Swift. The Eagles they get another guy on the defensive line out of Georgia. Like what the Eagles are doing, and I don't have any dog in the fight. I'm a Commanders guy. The Eagles are just putting together a monster in the NFC. Meanwhile, the Panthers will meet the Leafs tomorrow night in Game 1. So let's talk about the Leafs on a more positive note. The Leafs beat the Lightning 2-1 in overtime in Game 6. First time in 20 years, or 19 to be specific, that the Leafs have made the second round. You can hear, if you listen closely, you can hear all of Canada, particularly around Toronto, breathing a sigh of relief because the Leafs are one of the original 6, one of the most storied hockey teams in all of hockey. But, man, this has been, you talk about an albatross, like hanging around their necks. They just could not get to the second round. And so 2 things happen here. Number 1 is the Leafs finally break through. And then secondly, this is really the end of an era for the Lightning. The Leafs breaking through is such a big story that we forget that the Lightning have made the Stanley Cup Finals 3 straight years. They won 2 cups. So it's a new beginning for the Leafs, but also sort of the end of what has been a tremendous championship run for the Tampa Bay Lightning. But good on Toronto. The league needed this, and Toronto definitely needed this.
So do you think they're going to hang a banner for a first-round playoff series win? Because at this point,
Yes.
It feels like they probably will because it's so momentous for this franchise. But let's look at the Panthers moving forward. Like, was this a fluke? Do the Panthers deserve some flowers? Because let me say something. The teams from South Florida this year are on such a run. Look at March Madness. We had FAU. We had Miami. making huge upset runs to the Final Four in basketball. Look at the Miami Heat, stunning the Milwaukee Bucks, top-seeded team in the East. And now we have the Florida Panthers sending home the Bruins. I don't know what's going on in South Florida, but it is a year of upsets for these South Florida teams.
Here's what's going to happen. The Panthers are going to lose to the Leafs in the next round, and then everyone's going to say, oh, my God, even more of a disappointment by Boston. The only way you might feel a little bit, a smidge better if you're the Bruins